my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance.
1,630 days after the president gave those orders, Saddam is long gone, but the war in Iraq goes on at an enormous cost. More than 3,700 American servicemen and women killed. More than 28,000 wounded. Estimates of Iraqi civilian deaths alone range from 70,000 to more than 80,000. The cost to American taxpayers, $567 billion.
I've committed more than 20,000 additional American troops to Iraq.
That number for what the president called the surge would grow to 30,000, and he hoped it would turn the war around. The president appealed to Americans for time and promised a full accounting. Now, the top U.S. military commander in Iraq is about to give his much-anticipated report, and the stakes could not be higher.
Good evening. I'm Katie Couric in Baghdad. We've come here to Iraq to help you make your own assessment.
From one end of Iraq to the other, we'll show you the successes and the failures. What's next for this country and ours? Tonight and all this week, America in Iraq, the road ahead.
Also tonight, Felix plows into Central America as a monster Category 5 hurricane. Plus, the frantic search for daredevil flyer Steve Fawcett, who disappeared in a small plane.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric reporting tonight from Baghdad.
It's early Wednesday morning here in the Iraqi capital as we begin 4 days of special broadcasts on one of the most critical issues facing our country today, the war. A congressional report out today says violence in Iraq remains high, and the Iraqi government has failed to meet 11 of 18 benchmarks. An even more critical report comes in a week on the progress of the surge. One place the U.S. military says it's working is in the city of Fallujah in western Iraq.
To get a boots-on-the-ground view of the impact of the surge, the man who will report to Congress next week choppered us to Fallujah in Anbar province. Once the most dangerous place in all of Iraq, a place where American forces have seen some of the bloodiest fighting, a place that he says is now a snapshot of what's going right.
You say that Fallujah is a real success story. What turned it around?
Well, what turned it around was the local population deciding to reject al-Qaeda.
After retaking the city by force in late 2004, life is now slowly returning to normal. Fallujah is safer. The relationship between American troops and Sunnis is strong.
How important was the surge in getting this done?
It gave us an ability to clear and to hold some areas that were sanctuaries for al-Qaeda in the past. And then what happened is you have a situation where you are spiraling upward instead of spiraling downward.
More than 3 years ago, Fallujah was a notorious dateline. The fighting against al-Qaeda and Sunni insurgents, the most intense of the war. The most searing image, 4 U.S. contractors burned alive, dragged through the streets. A horrifying reminder of soldiers being dragged through Somalia 10 years earlier. The U.S. pulled out, considered it off limits, a lost cause.
Please, if you can, we will send a message to the people in the state.
The powerful tribal leaders of Anbar province, who are really the heads of large extended families, rejected the harsh, brutal tactics of al-Qaeda. Sheikh Sadoun al-Bawisa lost 30 members of his tribe.
They care about the Islam, about something, but they're lying. They cut the heads, they destroy Iraq, they don't like Iraq to be safe.
All I'm trying to do is...
Now his greatest worry, al-Qaeda will return if Americans leave.
Just we ask the American to help us until we finish al-Qaeda. If they back one step, they will destroy everything we built.
The decision by the tribal leaders to fight al-Qaeda spread across Anbar province. It made joining the Iraqi security forces an honorable choice. The Iraqi police force grew over 200% in just the last year to 19,000,
And violent incidents have dropped from over 1,400 last March to just over 400 in August. And while these new recruits rely heavily on U.S. training and equipment, they want them here now, but not indefinitely. Rather have U.S. troops here than al-Qaeda? This recruit says a time will come when al-Qaeda is gone, and a time will come when the Americans will go as well.
You can get about anything you want in here.
Our visit involved extensive security afforded any four-star general, but General Petraeus insisted you can feel when a place is dangerous.
Let's go, come on. Look at all the good stuff in here.
And he believes this one is not. Some people might be watching this and saying, oh, this is a nice dog and pony show. Yeah, there are some areas of calm. But if you look at the country as a whole, it's still a nightmare.
Well, if you look at the country as a whole, there is an unacceptable level of violence. But that level of violence, the number of ethno-sectarian deaths, you name it, the number of incidents,
Sunni, Shia killings, Shia, Sunni,
has been reduced dramatically. That's not to say that there are not places where it is very, very tough. The question is, which way is it headed? And I think it's headed up.
These military successes are
headed up enough to start reducing U.S. troop levels in Iraq. Yesterday, while talking to servicemen and women in Anbar province, President Bush raised the possibility. When I sat down with General Petraeus following our tour, he left the door open. As you know, Senator John Warner, a very high-ranking Republican on the Armed Services Committee, after a visit to Iraq, said some troops must begin to come home by Christmas. Do you agree with that?
Well, wait and see when I offer recommendations. I'll brief Congress on that in about a week and a half. The surge has to run its course. There's no question about that. The question is, how can you make adjustments to the force, bring the force levels down, and retain what we have fought so hard to achieve?
Meanwhile, in southern Iraq, it's the surge in reverse. British troops there moved their base from inside Basra to the airport. That leaves Iraq's second largest city largely in the hands of Shiite militants. Lara Logan reports.
As we were heading into the southern city of Basra Sunday under armed Iraqi escort, the only British troops left in town were packing up to leave, handing over their base at Basra Palace the very next morning to the Iraqi Army's 10th Division and withdrawing to a British airbase on the outskirts of the city. We were on our way to see the local governor, our lives in the hands of his uncle and personal security force, the only men Governor Mohammed Waili trusts in a city that's become a battleground for rival militias who've infiltrated the police force and tried repeatedly to kill him.
So those policemen outside the front of your building, do you trust them?
Not all of them.
The governor told us the Iraqi army is improving, but local forces, especially the police, aren't yet ready to take over security, and the British withdrawal has come too soon. Security in Shiite-dominated Basra is critical to Iraq because the stakes are so high. It holds at least 70% of the country's oil wealth and provides 90% of the government's estimated $21 billion revenues. But Shiite militias battling each other for power dominate this wealthy province despite the presence of British forces.
Assalamu alaikum.
And the soldiers that began their mission here with soft hats and friendly greetings soon wore out their welcome. These dramatic images 2 years ago show angry crowds in Basra stoning British soldiers as they rescue 2 comrades being held prisoner by a local militia. 22 British soldiers have been killed here in the last 5 months alone, and relentless attacks have succeeded in driving them off the streets. There'll be no British presence left in the city itself, but British officers insist that they won't be abandoning the people or their mission, and they will still be responsible for overall security throughout the province.
We're not going to leave a security vacuum here. That would just be mindless.
From their base, the British will continue to train and support Basra security forces. But their goal is to hand the province back to Iraqi control by the fall.
The policing of Basra city indefinitely by a foreign army is never going to be part of the end state here.
But the city is a no-go area for outsiders, and even local residents say they live in fear. On our way out of town, we visited the construction site of a new children's hospital, the governor's security shadowing our every move, with an armored car following behind. As we toured the heavily guarded grounds, the foreman told us this had been his prison for 7 months. As a Sunni from Baghdad, if he went into the city, he'd be killed. The British insist their withdrawal to a single base outside of Basra is not a retreat. But there is concern amongst the US that if British forces withdraw completely, it's American soldiers who will have to head south to fill the vacuum they leave behind.
One of the reasons that's so important is that there are critical US supply lines running up from Kuwait through Basra, and the US would then have to protect those supply lines themselves. Katie?
Lara, we've heard so much about Iran backing these Shiite militias. Is that country playing any role in Basra?
Oh, it's playing a huge role in Basra. There's no question that Iran is backing all of the militias in the south. In fact, US intelligence themselves have said that to me many times. There is some normal cross-border relationship between neighboring states, but it goes far beyond that, and that's a major concern for the US.
Lara Logan, Lara, thank you so much. Despite any military progress here in Iraq, everyone agrees on this. Without an effective government, there is no chance for enduring peace here. The Iraqi parliament reconvened today after a month-long vacation. More than a third didn't show up, but that was an improvement and a quorum. They have so much to do and so much pressure to do it. President Bush has expressed his frustration time and time again.
If the Iraqi government does not follow through on its promises, it will lose the support of the American people.
You have an obligation to your people, and to our people for that matter, to do the hard work necessary.
Iraq's leaders still have got a lot to do, don't get me wrong.
We talked to the man at the center of the storm, Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki.
Those who look from the outside want results. Those on the ground, however, know the true scale of the challenges. That's why they confront those challenges one by one.
We get frustrated. I think he gets frustrated too. We encourage him to do more. We push him, we press him, but I think he is making a genuine effort to move this country to a better place.
It's been a slow and painful process. The Iraqi government has yet to build an army and police force that can protect its people. Its national unity government is neither. So far, it's failed to share power or reconcile differences, and almost half the cabinet is boycotting the government. Sunnis, who make up 20% of the population, feel excluded after the overthrow of Saddam, also a Sunni. Thousands have lost their jobs, been forced from their homes, and feel the Shiite-dominated central government doesn't care about them. Shiites, 60% of the population, are afraid of going back to a time when they were repressed by the Sunni government of Saddam.
Most of Shia are afraid that Sunnis or Baathists will control things again.
The government has failed to agree on how to distribute billions of dollars of oil revenues across the country. And perhaps its biggest failure, its inability to restore basic services.
Ask people what their problems are. The answer is almost always the same. Where's the water? Where's the electricity? Where's the trash pickup?
These failures have led some members of Congress to say Maliki should go.
You don't want to interfere with the affairs of the government that has been elected by 12 million Iraqis.
Now, last week, the major parties in the government pledged to work together and set a number of goals. But whether that will happen and when that will happen remains to be seen. I'll be back with much more from Baghdad, including a day in the life of families living in a war zone. But up next, Harry Smith is stateside with the very latest on Hurricane Felix and more of the day's news.